Bypassing democracy. Democracy is lame. These guys will agree with me. Norway takes pride in a lot of things, like fish, oil, and democracy. Most importantly, brown cheese. But for now, we'll focus on the democracy. So, what is democracy? The word democracy comes from two Greek words, demos, meaning people, and kratos, meaning power. This is why we can look at democracy as power of the people. The separation of power is a concept first put to mind by French philosopher Montesquieu in The Spirit of Laws, 1748. Montesquieu had a big part in the French Revolution and really changed the monarchist mindset of medieval Europe. However, that deserves a video of its own. The separation of power can be looked at as a triangle, and there are three important parts to this triangle, like there are with any triangles. The legislative power, which makes the laws and is elected by the people. The executive power, which enacts and enforces the laws and is chosen by the legislative power. And then the judicial power, which judges them and, simply explained, is decided by a judge pool. I'm going to be explaining how the separation of power works in Norway, and later on I'll tell you how to break it. The three entities exist to keep each other in check and make sure none of them can abuse power. If we oversimplify it, we can kind of look at it as a game of rock, paper, scissors, although not really. The Norwegian parliament, the big thing, yes, that is what it's called, can vote to remove the government if they're being sus. This is called a no confidence motion. When the government has been removed, the big thing has to create a new government. This is how the legislative power can put pressure on the executive power and keep them in check. However, the executive power can also put pressure on the legislative power by asking a cabinet question. A cabinet question is a threat by the government to disband if they don't get their will. The big thing generally doesn't want the government to step down because not having a government can be rather inconvenient. After all, you need someone to execute everything. The judicial power is more kinda just out there. The two other powers can't really pressure the judge chairs. You can imagine a classroom where the government and the big thing are playing together. Meanwhile, the judicial branch is sitting for itself and working quietly. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for what you've all been waiting for. How can you abuse the system, seize the power, and turn the democracy into dictatorship with you in the middle? Keep in mind that this isn't easy. The point of the video is just to prove that this is possible. No democracy is 100% safe, and there will always be loopholes hidden in everything. Step 1. You have to gain over 50% of the seats in parliament in a national referendum. This gives you full control over the legislative branch. 1 down, 2 to go. Step 2. Be elected Prime Minister and choose your government through the big thing. This should be no problem as long as you control over 50% of the legislative branch. With this being done, you now control 2/3 of the only thing stopping you. Now all you need is to control the judges. Then, the power will be yours. Step 3. Now, this part is very risky. It's also the final part. And it's the first step where you're actually breaking the law. You have to bribe, ally, or make friends with sitting judges. Tell them you can rule the nation together and get anything they could ever want. No one could stop you. If they accept, then yay, friendship. That's 3 out of 3. You did it. I'm proud of you. You now control the triangle and the state. You've made new friends. You can give yourself a high salary and be rich. You have an outstanding CV. I mean, who would not accept you at their grocery store or whatever? But most importantly, we had fun. Oh, and if the judges don't accept your bribe, Norwegian prisons aren't too bad. Thanks for watching.